The rain had not stopped since dawn, as though the skies mourned alongside Lucas Ainsley. Black coats and umbrellas filled the narrow graveyard of Kendleton, a quiet village nestled in the Wiltshire hills. The air hung thick with damp soil and unsaid words. Lucas stood still as the coffin was lowered into the ground. His mother, Evelyn Ainsley, had passed unexpectedly, a heart attack, the doctor said. To Lucas, it felt like something deeper had been ripped from the earth. The last thread that held his fragile family together was now gone. Julian, his older brother, barely looked at him. They hadn't spoken more than a few sentences in months. Even now, Julian stood on the opposite side of the grave, staring blankly, a hand resting stiffly on their father's shoulder. Their father, always distant, looked more irritated than heartbroken, as if death had inconvenienced him. Lucas glanced around. Familiar faces, neighbors, family friends, all murmuring their condolences. But none of it felt real. None of it softened the cold that settled in his chest. After the service, Lucas returned to the house alone. The Ainsley family home, once warm and inviting, now felt like a hollow museum. His footsteps echoed in the hallway as he passed family portraits that never truly captured the truth. He entered Evelyn's bedroom, something he hadn't done since childhood. Dust had settled gently on the dresser. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the air. Lucas opened the drawer, unsure what he was even looking for. Maybe a letter. Maybe nothing. Instead, he found a locked wooden box, tucked beneath old scarves. Its key was still in the lock. With hesitant fingers, he opened it. Inside lay a stack of aged papers, a photograph, and a small silver rattle. The photo made his heart stop. A baby wrapped in a knitted blanket, eyes closed, a faint birthmark on the left cheek. He didn't have a birthmark. Confused, Lucas picked up the document beneath it. It was a hospital record. His name wasn't there. Instead, two names were listed. The mother, Lady Margaret Wexley. The baby, James Wexley. His breath caught in his throat. Why would his mother have this? He stared at the photo again. The knitted blanket. He had seen it before, folded neatly in their attic, stored for years. Suddenly, every childhood doubt, every whispered argument he'd overheard, every cold glance from his father, flooded back with chilling clarity. Lucas stood in the silence, heart pounding. This wasn't just grief. This was something else. Something broken. Something stolen. Lucas didn't sleep that night. The box, the photograph, the name, James Wexley, replayed in his mind like a broken melody. He kept reading the document until the words blurred into shadows. There was no mistake. The hospital record was dated the very week he was born. But why? By morning, Lucas sat at the kitchen table with a cup of untouched tea, staring at nothing. The silence in the house was unbearable. Memories of Evelyn's voice, her soft hum as she made breakfast, were now replaced by questions she could no longer answer. He opened his laptop and searched. Lady Margaret Wexley. Results flooded in. She was a known figure from an old noble family, the Wexleys of Northumberland. Her name appeared in archive society pages, photos at charity galas, interviews about art and heritage. But there was something else. An article from 29 years ago. Tragedy at Wexley Estate. Infant lost in hospital mix-up? Lucas clicked. The article detailed a rumored incident involving Lady Margaret's newborn, James. According to whispers, the child disappeared hours after birth, never found, with speculation silenced by the family's wealth and influence. Lucas's heart pounded. Was he, that child? Before he could think further, his phone rang. Julian. Lucas hesitated, then picked up. You went into Mum's room, didn't you? Julian's voice was cold. Lucas said nothing. She told me to keep you out of there. She knew this day might come. Lucas's grip tightened. So you knew? About the box? About everything. Julian exhaled. Not everything. Just enough to know it was dangerous. Dangerous. Lucas whispered. It's my life. Julian lowered his voice. Listen to me. Walk away from this. Whatever you think you've found, it's not worth it. Click. The line went dead. Lucas stared at his phone. That was not a warning. That was a threat. The mirror had always hung there, in the dim hallway between the study and the back bedroom. Oval, ornate, and rimmed in dull gold, It had been part of the house for as long as Lucas could remember. Evelyn used to polish it every Sunday. But after her funeral, it caught more dust than glances. Now, Lucas stood in front of it, his reflection staring back with eyes that no longer felt like his own. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the hospital photograph again. That baby, James, was wearing a knitted blue cap. Lucas had never seen that cap before, but something about the eyes, wide and dark with uncertainty, unsettled him. They mirrored his own expression now. As if drawn by instinct, Lucas touched the edge of the mirror. And the memory came. A flicker. A smell. Lavender soap. A woman's soft hum. Different from Evelyn's. Another woman. He staggered back. Had he imagined it? Or had the mirror held something more than glass? His thoughts spun, so he returned to the study and opened the box again, this time slower, more careful. Beneath the photo and the document was a faded envelope, sealed with an old crest, one he now recognized from the Wexley family archive online. Hands trembling, he broke the seal. Inside was a letter, written in sharp handwriting. To whoever finds this. If you are reading this, then the truth can no longer be hidden. You were taken. Replaced. Your name is not Lucas. Your blood is Wexley. Forgive me. Margaret. But why would she write a letter and hide it in Evelyn's house? Lucas's skin went cold. Unless Evelyn had known. All this time. A knock at the door jolted him upright. He wasn't expecting anyone. The hour was late. Outside, rain had begun to fall again, tapping gently on the windows. Cautiously, he approached the door and opened it a crack. A man in a dark coat stood on the step. Mid-50s. Gray hair slicked back. He held no umbrella, yet he didn't look wet. Lucas Finch? The man asked. Lucas hesitated. Yes. The man nodded once. It's time we talked about your real family. Before Lucas could speak, the man reached into his coat and handed him a worn black envelope. No one else must see this. Meet me at the pier. 11 o'clock. Don't be followed. And just like that, the man turned and disappeared into the night fog, as if he had never been there at all. Lucas stood frozen, envelope in hand, heart hammering against his ribs. He turned back toward the hallway, toward the mirror. The reflection had changed. The man in the mirror no longer looked like him. The fog swallowed Lucas whole as he stepped onto the wooden boards of the old pier. The Thames was restless tonight, lapping softly against the pylons with a rhythmic unease. Street lamps behind him gave only a faint glow, swallowed by the mist as if the world ended 5 steps behind. It was 11 o'clock sharp. He held the black envelope tight in his coat pocket, its edges damp from the moisture in the air. Every instinct in his body told him to turn around. To go back to his apartment. To forget the letter, the man, the mirror. But his legs kept moving forward. A shadow emerged through the fog ahead. Tall, still, hands tucked behind his back like a priest or a soldier. The man who had come to his door. You came, the man said, voice calm but urgent. I want answers, Lucas replied. You'll get them, the man said. But you need to understand the cost. Lucas frowned. What are you talking about? The man pulled out a small, weathered journal and handed it to Lucas. This belonged to your mother. Your birth mother. Lucas froze. I don't know her. No, the man agreed. Because she died under mysterious circumstances 2 days after you were taken. Lucas gripped the journal as his chest tightened. Taken. Switched at birth. Not by chance, by design. Lucas opened the journal. On the first page in delicate script was written, my son's name will be James. I will find him again, no matter the cost. A chill slid down his spine. He looked up. Why would someone take me? The man hesitated. Because of who you are. Who you were meant to be. A boat engine roared in the distance, low and sudden, making them both glance over their shoulders. I don't have much time, the man continued. Your uncle, Sir Benjamin Wexley, he ordered the switch. Your mother tried to stop him. That's why she's dead. Lucas stepped back in disbelief. Sir Benjamin. The name echoed in his mind like a curse from a past he never knew he had. He remembered reading the name in the family archive. A powerful man in the Wexley estate. And still alive. But why? Lucas whispered. Because your birthright threatened everything he controlled. Money, power, title. You were supposed to inherit it all. The man leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. Now he knows you're alive. Lucas opened the envelope at last. Inside was a single photograph. It showed a baby, him, unmistakably, with a woman who wasn't Evelyn. Her smile was kind, her eyes familiar. On the back, written in the same delicate script, were 3 words. Don't trust Evelyn. The air around them suddenly changed. From the fog, Lucas saw a figure approaching. Another man, heavier, moving with purpose. The man beside Lucas went tense. They found us. He shoved a folded note into Lucas's hand. Run. Go back through the alley behind the pier. Don't stop until you're somewhere with light. Lucas's heart pounded. Who are you? The man gave him a bitter smile. Your godfather. And then he turned, stepping into the fog to confront the shadowed figure, giving Lucas one last command. Run, James. Lucas ran. He ran until his breath turned ragged, until the city swallowed him again, until the only thing louder than his footsteps was the truth screaming in his head. His name was James. And someone wanted him erased. The key to Evelyn's private study was never on display, but Lucas had watched her long enough over the years to know where she kept it. Tucked inside the false bottom of the blue porcelain vase on the 3rd shelf in the drawing room. A place no one would look. Except him. The city had barely started to stir when he returned to the Wexley estate. The grand house lay silent under a blanket of clouded gray, the morning fog still refusing to lift. Evelyn had left for her usual charity brunch, as her calendar insisted she would. Lucas moved like a ghost through the halls, past the family portraits that suddenly felt unfamiliar. Each frame now a lie. Each face a suspect. The study door clicked open. Dust floated in the slivers of light from the half-drawn curtains. Everything inside was untouched, pristine, curated like a museum of control. But Lucas no longer felt the reverence he once did. He opened drawers, pulled back books, tapped for hollow spaces in the walls. He wasn't even sure what he was looking for, until he found it. A locked ledger bound in crimson leather, resting beneath Evelyn's law journals. The name embossed in gold across the front read, James Everard Wexley. His hands trembled. He forced the lock with the tip of a letter opener and flinched as it gave way. Inside were records, files, letters, a birth certificate. His. But it listed a different date, a different hospital. And under mother's name, not Evelyn Wexley, but Clara Everard. There were journal entries, too, written in Evelyn's neat, deliberate script. Clara's child must never know. She was unstable, dangerous. The board would never approve a Wexley heir born of madness. Sir Benjamin agrees. James is safer as Lucas. Raised by us. Polished. Contained. Each sentence dug deeper into his mind like claws. They had stolen his name. Stolen his life. And justified it in the name of status and legacy. A floorboard creaked behind him. Lucas turned sharply, heart pounding, but saw no one. The air felt thick, as though the room itself disapproved of his presence. He backed away from the desk, clutching the ledger. Then, a faint chime. A new message on the estate's internal line. He approached the console and played the voicemail. Evelyn's voice came through. Clear, cold. Lucas. Or should I say James? If you're listening to this, then the veil has lifted. I hoped you'd never find out, truly I did. But since you have, understand that I did it for your own good. You were meant for more than Clara could ever give. I gave you a future. A pause. But if you insist on pulling back the curtain, know this. Secrets only remain buried if no one dares to dig. And some graves, my dear, are best left untouched. The message ended in silence. Lucas stood frozen, breath shallow. She knew. She knew he would come looking. And she wasn't afraid. Not of him. But of what might happen next. Lucas didn't sleep that night. He sat in the same chair in the same study, with a red ledger on his lap and the room cloaked in silence. The truth no longer felt liberating. It was suffocating. Every word Evelyn had written bled into his veins like ice. He wasn't who he thought he was. He wasn't Lucas Wexley. He was James Everard. And the mother he never knew had been branded as unstable, discarded, and buried in secrecy. The next morning, Evelyn returned to the estate as though nothing had happened. She greeted him with her usual calm smile, offered tea, and commented on the weather. "Did you sleep well?" she asked, placing a cup gently before him. Lucas stared into her eyes, but her mask didn't crack. "I didn't sleep at all," he replied. Evelyn gave a soft chuckle, sipped her tea, and said nothing more. But Lucas saw it now, the way she avoided the study, the way her gaze lingered on the locked cabinet across the room, and how her fingers trembled ever so slightly when she picked up the sugar tongs. He followed her movements for the next few days. She was careful, but not perfect. On Wednesday night, just after midnight, she crept out of her room and headed for the West Wing. Lucas followed, barefoot and silent. She passed the servants' corridor and entered a part of the estate long left unused. Dust lined the halls, and the wallpaper curled at the edges. Evelyn unlocked a door hidden behind a large, faded tapestry. Lucas waited until the sound of her footsteps faded, then approached. The door creaked as he opened it. Inside was a narrow staircase, spiraling downward. Each step groaned under his weight as he descended into darkness. The air grew colder, damp. At the bottom, a corridor stretched forward, lit only by a faint glow from an antique lamp hanging on a rusted hook. At the end of the corridor was a room with no windows, bare stone walls, a single chair, a mirror. Lucas stepped inside and froze. The mirror wasn't decorative. It was a two-way glass. Behind it, wires, monitors, files. It was an observation room. He opened the drawers and found photographs. Dozens of them. Some of him as a child, others of strangers. Medical reports. Psychological evaluations. One labeled, Clara Everard, Subject 11. And one more, Lucas Wexley, Subject 12. Control test. He stumbled back, breath catching in his throat. This wasn't just deception. It was experimentation. He reached for a file marked Termination Protocol, his fingers trembling. Before he could open it, a voice echoed behind him. "You were always too clever for your own good." He turned. Evelyn stood at the doorway, the same calm expression on her face, but her eyes were hard, unblinking. "I told you, James," she said softly. "Some graves are best left undisturbed." The lamp flickered between them, casting Evelyn's shadow long across the floor like a dark stain. The room seemed to breathe, filled with a silence too thick to break. He clenched the folder tighter, unsure whether to run, fight, or scream. Evelyn took a step closer. "You weren't supposed to come back," she said. "The estate was meant to pass quietly, with no questions. You were meant to leave it behind." Lucas raised his voice, finally. "Why? Why go through all this? Who was my mother to you?" Evelyn didn't blink. Clara was gifted. Too gifted. The government wanted her under control. She refused. So they labeled her unstable. We watched her. Observed. Until she broke. Lucas's stomach churned. "You were one of them." She nodded. "One of the scientists. I was placed here under another identity when Clara married Gregory Wexley. When she began showing signs of trauma, I reported it. She was removed from your life before you even formed a memory." Lucas's fists shook. "You experimented on her. And me. You were never meant to know," Evelyn said. "The Wexleys adopted you with strict conditions. I stayed to ensure you remained stable. I even protected you from being redirected." He stepped back. "Redirected?" "There were plans to take you to a facility. Raise you under observation. I kept you here. I gave you a chance at normalcy." Lucas's laugh was hollow. "You call this normal?" Evelyn's voice dropped. "You're still not safe, James. Not now. There are others watching." Suddenly, the mirror behind him flickered. A faint buzz. He turned, and saw a red light blinking in the corner. A camera. Active. "They know you're here," Evelyn whispered. "And they'll come for you." Panic surged in Lucas's chest. "Then help me." Evelyn hesitated. Just a second. Then she reached into her coat and pulled out a small, black USB stick. "This has everything," she said. "Names. Locations. The entire project. Take it. And run." Lucas took it, his hands cold. Go through the north woods. There's a car under the old stable. It's unregistered. Lucas turned to leave. But before he reached the door, Evelyn gripped his arm. James, she said quietly. They'll never stop looking. If you want to end this, you'll have to expose everything. Even your own blood. Lucas nodded once. Then he ran. The night air was bitter as Lucas tore through the trees, branches scratching at his arms like claws. Behind him, distant voices shouted, too far to make out words, but close enough to chill his spine. The USB was clenched in his palm. Reaching the stables, he found the car, an old Rover, covered in dust, but with keys already in the ignition. As the engine roared to life, Lucas sped off, the tires skidding against gravel. He didn't look back. Hours later, Lucas stood outside a low building in Bristol. A quiet newsroom with flickering lights and a single night editor on duty. He slammed the USB on the desk. This is bigger than anything you've covered, he told the startled man behind the computer. You want truth? Here it is. The editor blinked. Who are you? I'm the last witness. 3 days later, the story broke nationwide. Project Mirror. A decades-long experiment into mind manipulation and sensory deprivation. Children taken, observed, rewritten. Scientists embedded in homes. The government denied involvement, but evidence flooded the internet. Records, videos, testimonies. Evelyn disappeared. So did several names Lucas recognized from the files. But not all. Lucas received a package weeks later. No sender. Inside, a note. You exposed the mirror. But what about the one inside you? Beneath it, a photograph. Lucas is a boy, no older than 6, eyes vacant, electrodes on his temples. He stared at it for hours. The past wasn't done with him. He was free, yes. But he would never be the same.